New year, new camera. Some of the more perceptive of you, or some of the more camera aware of you, might be quick to notice that this is actually the exact same model of the previous camera that I had. Why the new camera? Let's take a step back. So, first of all, Happy New Year. It's 2020. Today is January 9th, 2020. New year, new decade, a new vlog. It's been a little while since we've had a new vlog. Christmas happened, New Year's Eve happened, and then shortly after that, on January 4th, this guy's birthday. Lock in your guesses, lock in your answers for how old you think this guy is. Some of you guys already know, but anyway, this guy turned 40, the big 40. Go on, hit me with it. Hit me with all of your, wow, you are 40 years old, you are ridiculously old. Go ahead, I can take it. I've been anticipating this date for a little while, and I feel okay about it. I feel pretty good, especially following the amazing day that I had on my 40th birthday party. So, things started out at the Aria, brunch. We went over to Bardo over at the Aria, ordered a lot of food. We got 3 main courses between the 2 of us, including a ridiculously portioned French toast, which I highly recommend you guys check out if you're into the French toast scene. Which I am, not regularly, but I like to dabble in that scene. Next stop was the Golden Knights game. The St. Louis Blues, the champion St. Louis Blues, facing off versus the Golden Knights. What a game. We started off 3-0 down in the first period. We came all the way back to an overtime victory, which was just epic. An epic game, for sure, the best game that I've ever been to. Obviously, that sounds like a little bit of hyperbole, but you know, it just felt like everything just kind of came together on my birthday for that game. So that was awesome. After that, drinks at Primrose inside MGM while waiting for the Nomad bar to open up for another drink over there. The espresso martini at Nomad. My favorite drink in the city. After that is where things got incredibly interesting. So I had sort of figured that I would get some friends together, those who were available. This executive suite thing, I figured we would just get people together, whoever's around. You know, my birthday is kind of tough because it's immediately after New Year's Eve, which is immediately after Christmas, basically, and people are usually pretty partied out following all the holiday stuff. So it's kind of tough timing of it to get people together to go out and, you know, have some drinks and all that stuff on January 4th. But apparently this year it was not an issue, especially thanks to all of the work that Boosie did to put together a massive surprise party that was waiting for me in a suite.
See you. Yeah, you too.
People came from all over. There was my good friends from Seattle, from Austin, from California, my buddies James and Nina, who are from Chicago, but they're actually in San Diego. They were there. Jaman Burton was there from St. Louis. A bunch of my good friends who live in Las Vegas were also there. Lots of people who I was absolutely certain would not be there. They were there, and this is the second surprise birthday party that Boosie has thrown for me. The first one was, I think, my 31st birthday, and this one was epic. My brothers from Michigan, they flew in, Boosie arranged all of that, and I saw absolutely none of it coming. So, to say that it was a surprise, well-executed surprise, yeah, I was, not only was I surprised, I got a little emotional there. Just wave after wave of surprise when I saw each individual person. It was interesting because, like, when I first walked into the suite and I saw all these people there, I was like, oh great, more people showed up than I maybe anticipated. But then when I saw each individual person and realized just how far they had come from to be at my birthday party, it was the coolest surprise of my life.
But thank you guys so much for being here. This is blown away times 10. Seeing all you guys here in the same room is amazing. Kudos times a million for Boosie putting this all together. We're gonna have a long talk about how she told me so many lies and hid some over several months, it seems.
She hated it.
She said, "What's new?" Yeah, I don't know. But I wish you guys all the best this year, this decade, and cheers for being here. Love you guys.
We wish you the best.
Cheers.
Cheers.
After that initial surprise, I don't want to say wore off because that feeling lasted throughout the entire night, but we hung out in the suite for a good 3 hours. There was a magician, there was a bartender, there was a photographer. It was amazing. It didn't stop there. We went out, we all got into a super stretch limo, headed to downtown Las Vegas and went to a couple bars out that way on Main Street, out there in the Arts District, pretty close to where Boosie and I live. And yeah, it's impossible for me to say thank you enough to everybody who showed up for that. And to all you guys who sent birthday messages throughout the day, lots of love. This guy, you know how to make a newly turned 40-year-old feel like he can die happy. After that kind of a surprise, I mean, man, yeah, it's hard to put it all into words, but it was fantastic. It was the surprise of my life. One of the best days of my life for sure. And yeah, feeling pretty good. All right, so what does this have to do with a new camera? Well, unfortunately, there was one casualty along the way, and that casualty was my vlogging camera. I took a bunch of footage, especially earlier in the day. Once the surprise happened, I kind of slowed down to stop recording things, but then when we got in the limo, I grabbed the camera to capture some more things, and that is sort of the last I saw of that camera. There was, I'm not gonna lie, many drinks had that day, that night. The entire day and night. The bartender was fixing me peanut butter martinis, some specialty drink that Boosie came across. This guy's a huge fan of peanut butter, little known fact. And peanut butter martinis, they definitely did it to me. And we are now one vlogging camera shorter as a result of all that. So, brand new camera here. Who knows, maybe the camera will turn up yet somewhere in the apartment, somewhere at one of the bars. We called around all the bars and no one's finding anything, so I think we might be down a vlogging camera, but easily replaceable. And if that vlogging camera does turn up, then maybe one of you guys will want to buy a vlog used Canon G7X Mark III. Who knows? Anyway, Happy New Year, guys. Hope your new year is off to somewhat of an equally majestic, magical start as mine is. And now we're getting back into the thick of it here. I'm here in California. There's a casino, a very beautiful casino, about 10 minutes away from this hotel that I'm staying at right now called The Gardens Casino. There's a meetup game tomorrow and Saturday, but today there is no meetup game. So the plan today is to go see whether there's any 5-10 running, see if that 5-10 game is fun and enjoyable. If it is, we're gonna play it. We're gonna capture some 5-10 hands, win or lose, I'm gonna share them. And if it's not fun, then maybe we'll go to the beach and fly the drone or something. All right, let's go. Vlogging booth, yeah. I mean, seriously, how perfect is this? A soundproof little room, perfectly ideal for telling hand histories at the casino into your camera. Right, so welcome back to the Gardens Casino. I don't throw around these compliments too lightly when it comes to casinos. You know, I've got my favorite casinos in Vegas. I don't really frequent too many of them when it's come to the poker sessions. You guys have only really seen me play poker on the reg in, you know, a handful of spots in Vegas. Design and vibe and comfort and all of that sort of thing. This casino used to literally be inside of a tent, and now it is, like I said, one of the nicest casinos. Right, so as mentioned, I checked out the 5-10, and the 5-10 has been very playable. Things are going well. Very early on, playing 8-handed in the 5-10 game, it's $1,500 maximum. I'm in for $1,300. Because I sat in the 5-5 game briefly, bought in for the $600 maximum, came over to the 5-10, added $700 on for some reason. In for $1,300, but somewhere around $1,500 effective. Playing 8-handed here, I open up pocket 10s from under the gun. A player 2 to my left puts in the 3-bet. Under the gun plus 2. He makes it $95. So not that big of a 3-bet. Folds back to me. I think it's just way too strong to put in a 4-bet. I think that's just over-upping our hand way too much. So I am going to take a flop here, put in the flat call, and we are off to a flop heads up, which comes down at pretty favorable for the pocket tens. We flop the nuts here. Top set. I check it over to him and he bets $60. There's straight draws available, there's a flush draw available, and I don't think flat calling here with all that going on this board is going to be all that prudent. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a check raise right away and make it $205. We're actually not that deep versus this player in particular. I think we are somewhere around $800 effective on the flop here. Yeah, all that money is getting sent in to the middle from this player. He goes ahead and jams all in. We have an obvious snap call here, and we are off to see the turn in the river. The turn brings a jack, the river pairs the board, so we end up with the tens full. I just roll it over here, not sure why, I just feel very confident that this is the best hand, and in fact, it is the best hand. So, pretty straightforward hand there. Once it comes down 10 high, happy to shovel the money in as fast as possible. Running really well here in the early going. Find a 3-bet spot with king jack off suit. The initial raiser had only opened for $20, so that looked a little bit weak. I took it upon myself to 3-bet the king jack. The button cold calls and the initial raiser call, so 3 ways to a flop in which it comes jack, jack, 5. Unfortunately, there's no more further action in this hand after I c-bet for $75. Both players fold, but as you can see, running good so far. There's an under the gun raise, a call. We look down at ace queen offsuit on the button. Could go a couple of ways here, but with the initial raise coming from under the gun, I lean towards the conservative side and just flat call there. We go 4 ways to a flop, which comes queen high. Checks over to me. I go ahead and bet it for a little over half pot, and everybody folds. We finally find a pocket pair that does not flop a set. The pocket nines comes down ace high, I believe, king on the turn. Flop checks through, and then the initial raiser c-bets on the turn. So we're going to have to let that one go for a small loss, but obviously more good things than bad happening this session so far. In this next hand, there's the middle position open for $40, and this is from a player who is varying his bet size. He was opening anywhere from the minimum up to $40 or maybe $50. So when we looked at pocket tens, I think I am just going to flat here on his immediate left. If he'd opened for $20 or $25 or $30, I think I would go ahead and put in the 3-bet, but since he's increased his bet size a little bit, I'm just going to flat call. Don't want to face a 4-bet with this hand. Happy to play it in position post-flop. Both of the blinds call, and we are going 4 ways to another favorable flop. These pocket tens, they're flopping pretty well so far today. Another board that comes 10 high when we have pocket tens. Action, unfortunately, checks all the way over to me, so I am going to put in a bet here since we're 4 ways. Even though there's no flush draw on this board, there are plenty of straight draws and lots of hands that can continue to a medium-sized bet. So I bet half pot here. Small blind folds, and the big blind delivers some good news to us. He puts in a check raise. He raises it up to $335, and the initial raiser folds before we have a decision here. So since there's no flush draw here, and since we have a lot of the continuing range blocked a little bit, I think he's going to be a little bit more weighted to some straight draws here. Yes, he could have a smaller set, of course, possibly bottom 2, but I think he's not going to have a hand like 10-5 all that often, or a hand like 10-7, although that is possible. But since we're in position here, I think it's certainly okay to flat call. It's going to be a little bit unclear as to whether or not we're still ahead on various turn cards, such as a jack or a 6, but we're not going to fold, so it doesn't really harm our decision-making too much. So I decided on a flat call, and we are heads up to a turn card, which is a very good card. It's a queen, so we basically still have the nuts here, considering the fact that he just flat called pre-flop. I would imagine that he would 3-bet pocket queens basically all the time. So still feeling very good about this hand when my opponent continues betting. This time he bets $425, and he's only got about $600 or so behind this. So a little bit of a decision once again, but I think it's maybe a little bit straightforward. My opponent is probably going to be shutting down with his straight draws, with his semi-bluffs, because he's not going to be blocking any strong hands on the river in that spot, and he's blocking all the hands that he would want me to have. This is how I would approach the situation. I can't be sure that this is how he would approach the situation on the river. He may fire the third shell on the river unimproved. I don't want to just give him his own price to see the river card and then allow him to just shut down on the river when he doesn't improve. I'd rather charged him the maximum for his bluffs, for his drawing hands, and obviously we're going to be getting it in against a lot of his value hands regardless, such as smaller sets. So I don't think for too long before deciding on a jam. Go ahead and stick the rest in there for the additional $600 or so effective in his stack. I'm all in. All in. He does not snap call, which is unfortunate because I would expect him to do that with a lot of his value hands. He thinks for a while. He says out loud something like he knows what he's going to do. He's just going to kill a little time here, waste a little time here maybe. Not exactly sure what that means in the moment, but unfortunately he does decide on a fold in the end. So we win another big pot here, at least with pocket tens. Tens are telling the story of the day so far. Things are looking good. I got a couple more hands here. Unfortunately, I didn't capture the action. Didn't have the camera ready. It's always kind of awkward when there's a hand that I connect on and I go to grab the camera mid-hand. I'm afraid that someone's going to pick up on some sort of a tell. In this first one, I open up king, queen offsuit from under the gun. I think we might be playing 8-handed, but even still, this is probably a little bit too light. Feeling in the groove in this table and feeling like I can navigate okay with these hands at this table. So I make it 35 to go. The button puts in a 3-bet up to $100. Folds back over to me. Normally not the best situation, but this player had been fairly active. He had already called me out for having a backpack, as he should. He called me out on that one, and I have no retort. Anyway, I make the call, and we are heads up to a flop, which comes down 10 high, as apparently all flops do here at the Gardens. I check it, and my opponent checks back. The turn is the queen of diamonds, I believe. Adds a flush draw. I check it over to him, even though this is a pretty good card for us. These big cards, these overcards to the board, to the flop, they should be good for the 3-better, the aggressor. So I check it over to him, and he goes ahead and bets for $225. Not going to do anything other than make the call here. The river, I believe, pairs the bottom card. I think it's another deuce. I check, and he puts out another reasonable size bet, somewhere around $375. Don't have too much choice here. We are losing to ace queen. We're losing to slow played pocket kings, pocket aces, pocket queens, pocket tens. You know, the flop comes 10 high. It seems like people usually have a set of tens, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, I'm not going to do anything other than call here, of course. Toss in the chips, and we get shown queen jack of spades. So, very good card there on the turn, as it turns out. Makes both of us top pair and allows us to get paid. One more interesting one. There's an early position raise to $60. There's no straddle on this hand. Player on his left calls, and we look down at ace king off suit. Again, it's versus a player who has been fairly active, so definitely going to 3-bet here. I make it $225. Only the initial raiser calls. So, heads up to a flop, which comes down 7-7-6 rainbow. He checks. I think it's okay to c-bet here. I think we can fold out hands such as like Jack-9 suited. If that hand finds a fold, that's fairly reasonable and a good result, I think. So I bet $175, but my opponent does not fold. He makes the call. Turn is the jack of hearts. He checks. I'm going to check it back, try and get this hand to showdown until the river comes an ace. So my opponent checks it over to me, and it's kind of an interesting spot. We might be a little bit capped here, although we're really the only one that can have pocket aces. So the very strong hands, such as pocket aces and pocket jacks, those are usually going to be in my possession and not in my opponent's possession. However, we're never going to have like a 7. Usually not. No, pretty much never, especially after we check back on the turn. So he could put us in a tough spot with a check raise if we go for some value here, but I think that's just way too passive to be worried about that at this moment. If it comes to that, maybe we'll try and get a read, make a decision then, but I'm going to go for some value. I bet $400, and without any hesitation, my opponent makes the call. So we roll it over, and my opponent shows us ace-queen. So very good run outs, running very good here. Very happy with my decision to value bet it on the river for the $400. Checking that back would make me feel quite sheepish and very weak if we did in fact check that back. So get ourselves an additional $400 there with the value bet and rolling. Things are rolling here at the Gardens Casino. Not too sure how much longer I'm going to play for. It is currently 9 p.m. So I was waiting for this booth to open. There was lots of phone calls being made inside this booth. Managed to sneak in here, tell you guys some hands. Don't want to stay too late because we have a meetup game, a full day tomorrow, full day on Saturday, and it's tough to leave though. It's tough to leave when things are going well. We got some chips in the stack. I don't want to jinx it though, so I'm not going to gloat. No gloating. say that we ran pure tonight would be a massive understatement. We ran ultra pure tonight. Only one hand of note, but again, I'm not so sure that it's worth too much analysis. Definitely worth note though, because it involved, once again, pocket tens. Cutoff opens for $30. I 3-bet to $100 on the button with pocket tens. The small blind rips it all in for $700. Maybe a little bit of a tough spot. I do debate for a while, but this player was stuck. So we decide it's pocket tens. How could it possibly lose? I call. Thank you. Pocket tens. I call. Obviously not going anywhere with pocket tens. I mean, I don't know what we're really thinking about. Anyway, we're off to the flop, which comes 10 high. Because of course it does. What did you think it was gonna come? Ace high, king high, queen high, jack high? No! 10 high. So anyway, we win another $1,400 pot there. So, 2020 is off to a pretty good start. We get into this game for $1,300. We don't add on any additional money after the initial buy-in there at the 5-10 game at the Gardens. We cash out for $6,303 for a profit of $5,003. One of the more sizable wins here on this little vlog project. So yeah, things are looking up. Anyway, we'll be back here tomorrow. I bet 310. The under the gun player thinks for a little bit, and then he jams all in. Wow. Snap call right away. Turn is a great card for us. Turn is a 10. River is a meaningless jack. Unfortunately, under the gun player decides to turn over pocket tens. Turn quads.